Hello friends, this is Dr. Rhonda Waters, CEO of Mutare Group in Boston. Today's topic, you are not an emotional eater. So last night I was watching My 600-Pound Life, and the woman who was on that episode said, I'm an emotional eater, I can't stop, I have to eat to feel good. Well, of course on that show she was well over 600 pounds and about 5 feet tall. Consuming somewhere around in excess of, I think the doctor said, 10,000 calories a day, not even getting out of bed to use the bathroom. I know, an extreme case, but a potentially useful illustration because it reminded me of something I wanted to talk a little bit about. Many of you know I'm a board certified hypnotist, and as a hypnotist I work with a lot of people who have weight issues and may be struggling in certain ways. Is now a good time to say that all weight issues go back to what we eat and when? In any case, the same phrase keeps coming up with clients who say, I'm an emotional eater. Well, putting my hypnotist hat on, I've studied a great deal about what we say about ourselves and how the things we say about ourselves become who we are. You might recognize this as kind of a neuro-linguistic programming thing. Or some people might use the term self-talk or positive affirmations, those sorts of things. It might mean generally the same sorts of things. My point here is that a person who says, I am an emotional eater, is really claiming that as part of their lives. This might not really be their intention, but studies are beginning to show that what we focus on is often what we become or what happens to us. So even thinking about something triggers the same emotions as saying it. We've talked about this in other things, but just thinking about being an emotional eater triggers something in our head. So once we decide to be emotional eaters in our heads, our bodies are likely to follow. When we feel that emotion, we want to eat. So I ask clients what emotions make them feel they need to eat. Newsflash, any emotion. Anger, sorrow, happiness, boredom. Once we've trained our minds that any emotion that makes us crave eating, we could be in real trouble. Eating is meant to be for a purpose, to fuel our bodies. Enjoying food is essential for babies. A child who has no interest in eating often didn't used to last very long. It used to be called failure to thrive. May still be. But now hospitals put a child who doesn't eat right away onto an IV for a couple of days, and usually in a couple of days they start eating. As adults, we may have trained ourselves when we feel particular emotions that we can feel powerless over our emotions. I'm not talking about alcohol or substance abuse, things that might be actual addictions. But when we're not even physically hungry, but we feel compelled to eat anyway, this is a habit. This is something we've taught ourselves to do. At a time when you feel compelled to do something that you don't really want to do in terms of eating, what I would encourage you to do is something that's called a pattern interrupt. What I mean is when you catch yourself thinking about food in terms of a compulsion, like you have to go downstairs and get something to eat, give your mind something else to think about. I help clients figure out what works best for them, because we're not all widgets, so the same thing doesn't work for everybody, and show them to shift their thinking long enough to get past that learned habit. It's kind of like a food autopilot. We need to become aware, live pilots of our own lives to avoid becoming what that woman was on the My 600-Pound Life. Well, a final point I want to make is, of course, you are not an emotional eater because you are a person. This is a noun. You're a person. You might be a person who has learned to trigger positive feeling endorphins in your body when you eat. Focus here on the fact that you are a person who may have issues. I know. We may use this kind of shorthand in American English when we claim qualifying attributes as part of our personal makeup. It may seem simpler and more efficient to do this, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily good for us in the long run. Remind anyone who attributes your issues that you're a person. Just like you might be a person who smokes cigarettes, you're not a smoker. A smoker is something we cook in. My suggestion is to unclaim things you don't want in your life. We are all works in progress. If anyone asks you why you're eating so much, well, first of all, give them the pillar of salt look. If anyone asks you why you're eating so much, just tell them you're figuring out how not to overeat. Don't volunteer to be an emotional eater because it seems like a simple thing to say. You might be a person who eats when they should do something else instead. If you want to figure out what to do instead of eating, and you're in Boston January 28th, be sure to sign up for my Breaking Habits with Hypnosis program at Lena Park Community Center. Sign up on Eventbrite. If you put my name in, Rhonda Waters in, it'll pop up for attending the event. The tickets are $40 to $90. There's more information about specifics on the Eventbrite site. You are a person with greatness within you. You are a person with greatness within you. This is Dr. Rhonda Waters of the Mutare Group. My phone number here in Boston is 617-266-3057.